The Ballon d'Or race is heating up and Paris will decide on 22 September, but this year the drama arrived early and on a microphone. PSG sporting director Luis Campos has openly declared what many expected him to argue behind closed doors. Ousmane Dembele was the best player in Europe last season, and if he does not win the Ballon d'Or, it would point to a failure of judgment from the voters themselves. Those are not small words for a club that has 9 nominees and a global platform. They are a deliberate nudge meant to shape public opinion as much as influence the narrative around the vote. Campos didn't couch his case in modesty. He named Dembele the standout across the Champions League and League One, argued he won everything, and even drew the blunt comparison. If his name were Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, there would be no discussion. At the same time, Campos acknowledged the rising stars. He praised Barcola and Pacho and reminded listeners that Hakimi and Vitinha also had extraordinary seasons. But his central point was blunt. Ousmane's individual credentials last season, he says, make him the obvious choice. On the other side of this debate sits Barcelona's 16-year-old sensation Lamine Yamal, whose meteoric breakthrough this year has turned him into a symbol of youthful possibility in world football. Lamine is talked about in the same breath as history, the youngest Ballon d'Or winner, and that possibility carries emotional weight. A celebration of a new generation, of bravery, of a prodigy seizing the biggest stages. Campos was careful when he mentioned Lamine, insisting his claim is about last season's performance rather than a projection of what the teenager might be in a few years. That distinction matters because voters are supposed to weigh only what was done on the pitch during the eligibility period. This public airing of strong opinion raises 2 clear questions. First, how do voters evaluate achievement versus narrative? Dembele's case rests on trophies and peak performances across competitions. Yamal's case is built on a cultural moment and a dazzling individual rise. Both paths are legitimate, but they appeal to different instincts, the measurable versus the memorable. Second, what does it mean when club officials publicly pressure the narrative? Campos's tone, at times borderline confrontational, is a reminder that institutional power still plays in football's soft politics. When a club with PSG resources and media reach says one of its players clearly deserves the Ballon d'Or, it's not merely opinion. It's a campaign. For fans, that campaign is a double-edged sword. Supporters of Dembele will feel vindicated. They can point to Champions League honours, league awards, and the blunt witness of Campos's words. Supporters of Yamal will see the intervention as predictable posturing and may rally further around the narrative of a teenage icon who reinvented attacking football with fearless runs and match-defining moments. Beyond fan reaction, pundits and former voters will be watching for the ripple effects. Will Campos's comments harden positions and polarize voting blocs, or will they backfire by making voters resist obvious pressure? Historically, the Ballon d'Or has been as much about storyline as statistics. This moment simply amplifies that tension. The consequences also carry a reputational underside. If the winner is perceived as the result of a PR offensive, however qualified the claim, critics will argue the award lost some of its moral authority. Conversely, if the winner is a young icon like Yamal, defenders will claim the award finally recognized a generational shift. Either outcome recalibrates expectations for future seasons and for how clubs conduct high-profile campaigns. Ultimately, this is more than a contest between 2 players. It's a snapshot of how modern football negotiates merit, media, and momentum. Campos's declaration, sharp, uncompromising, impossible to ignore, has made the Ballon d'Or conversation louder and messier than it would otherwise be. In the final days before Paris passes judgment, the ballot will close behind closed doors, but the court of public opinion is wide open. When the winner lifts the trophy, fans across the world will be arguing not just about who was best, but about what best should even mean in an era where trophies, narrative power, and youth superstardom collide. As for Campos and PSG, they've set down their marker. This is Dembele's year, they say. Whether the voters agree or whether history chooses the teenager instead, the fallout will shape how the next Ballon d'Or is fought and who gets to call the game the moment it matters most.